This episode has been brought to you from the DGMS Studios, home of Don't Get Me Started, Lethal and Money Live, and Surftown. Found at Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Welcome to Keith and Lee's Don't Get Me Started. Hi, I'm Lee.
And I'm Keith.
Keith, can you hear the silence?
I can.
You're back.
Well, let's disturb the silence.
Hello, mate. How was your trip?
It was good.
Mate, I'm so glad you're back. I tell you, I've been missing not only your good self, but I'm also missing the time in the studio. I'm missing our episodes. So an apology if you guys out there, or girls, are listening to Don't Get Me Started with Keith and Lee. We're back.
Yeah, well, it's great to be back, and the trip was fantastic. I flew way up north to the great Eurasian landmass, to the very southern tip of the Siberian steppe in a place called Petropavlovsk, which is in the northern part of Kazakhstan, just below the Russian border. So the trip was a journey into the unknown. You know, I've been to the east side through Asia and the west side through Europe, so here was right into the middle. And I don't know if you are aware of a fantastic book that came out some years ago called The Silk Road.
I thought he was going to say The Wayward Surfer.
Now, that's another story, but we may get onto that a bit later. But this book called The Silk Road, plural, not The Silk Road, but
I have heard, yeah.
The Silk Roads. And the guy who wrote it's called Peter Frankopan. The book says that history started in that part of the world. You know, because we are, European people, Caucasians, we think of Europe and America and England, and that's where we kind of direct our thoughts in terms of our heritage. But in his book, he said so much of what has shaped the world, the modern world even today, came from that part of that great landmass between Asia and Europe. And he talked about the Silk Roads, some were for trade, some were for culture, some were for religion and different migration patterns. When you go up there and you get a sense of that, I remember some years ago I was in Russia and I went to a place called Volga, and there was this site where there were these monolithic rocks freestanding, something like Stonehenge, but not in the same pattern. And I've never experienced anything like what I experienced when I was standing in that place. There was kind of an energy there that, look, I've seen a lot, but I've never, ever felt any sort of positive, strong energy like I did when I was in that place. A lot of hippies talk about, this place is a certain spot in the world where energy meridians move and that type of thing. And I've never experienced that. And I also went to a museum there, and it had visual display of the documentary of the world, and it was incredible. It was just almost overwhelming. It was on the bank of the Volga River, this particular museum. So I was going back into that part of the world again, and it was kind of but a new part, and it was a voyage into the unknown, if you like, not a dangerous unknown like going into the unknown of a jungle, the Amazon, for example, but into a part of the world that I've only had limited experience with, and it was fantastic.
You didn't go to Russia this time, though?
No.
You went to Kazakhstan. That just opens up a whole bucket load of Borat for me.
Well, interesting you should say that, because a couple of things. First of all, that guy shot the movie in Romania. Secondly, I didn't see that sort of stereotype there at all. Now, I was there for 5 weeks. Of course, it could be there.
Sacha Baron, his name.
Yeah, well, they're a bit pissed off with him because, he's just this smart first-world American guy who can think.
He's not American.
What is he?
He's English.
Oh, he's English. That's right.
Yeah.
He's English. Married to an Australian girl, apparently.
They split up.
Oh, have they? Well, he's too smart for his own good anyway. Up there, initially they were...
Isla Fisher.
Yeah, they were annoyed with him, but now they just don't care because there's a lot going on up. Again, they're in the middle of trade that's happening particularly between China and Russia. And there's a lot of energy, resources in Kazakhstan, and the place is on the move. So it's got all this happening around it, or including it in it, so they just don't care.
Not only for personal reasons you went there also for a break, but there's also another reason you went there concerning the other podcast, Surftown, the podcast, catching up with Vladimir.
Yes, well, thanks for mentioning that, Lee. Yes, my other podcast that I do is called Surftown, where I talk, have conversations and interview surfers who have done something significant or are doing something significant. And in the middle of all of that, I throw in the The Audacious Surf Tales of Vladimir Boris Waxanov.
Which I love.
But you don't believe he exists. So
Absolutely not. No, that's why I love it.
So when I went up there, I caught up with him and I recorded an interview that we had in a cafe. A bit rough because the cafes, the restaurants and the coffee shops up there are just fantastic. Give anything that we have on the east coast of Australia a run for its money. They're out there and they're living the life, man, I tell you. So anyway, that's where I recorded the interview with him, which can be found on Surftown, the podcast, which is on all the major platforms.
And you've just dropped one?
Yep, dropped one. Funny thing is, he's had all his adventures with governments because he's a businessman.
Yeah, of course he has.
Some of his associates were very dodgy and a few of them got into trouble. And so he was on the radar for some law enforcement agencies and he got detained in England and because he's Russian, they suffered massively from Russophobia and every time you think you got a name like Vladimir or Russian, they kind of pull you aside and drill you and ask you a million questions and go through all your social media contents, blah, blah, blah. So he got a bit of a rough time there, but he's out. But now he's going into a monastery because he's in even deeper trouble, not with governments, but with his ex-girlfriend because he has been enjoying himself a little bit too much outside the flag, should I say. So he wants to kind of disappear and just kind of sanctify his soul.
I would encourage everybody to listen to that episode. It's quite a long one. Keith reads a story out of The Wayward Surfer, which is a book that he co-wrote with Vladimir.
Definitely.
Allegedly. So please check it out, Surftown the podcast. But Keith,
yes.
You're back. Have you settled in?
Yes, I have settled in. I've got a few big things happening in my life, which is pretty exciting. So I've got to try and work hard to put all that together and life moves on.
Never stops.
It doesn't, does it?
Which leads me in nicely to, as we always do every week, we have a topic. And while you're away, certain things happen, life presents itself. You either embrace it or you push it away. And I read an article some time ago and it was on about what is your true north. I spoke to some people about this when I was out and about working. And I just said, what is your true north? And they had no idea what I meant. I don't understand what you're talking about. But when I said, well, your true north could be your partner, your family, your business, your home. It lit up something in them that they understood. So to enhance that, I thought, I have a chat with Keith because I wonder if he's come back home to his true north. Is Australia, which is basically the great Southland, is it your true north? What is your true north? So I've looked at a few stuff in a metaphorical sense. Your true north is your internal compass. It represents your core values, belief, and ultimate life purpose. It serves as an unwavering guide that helps you make authentic decisions, stay focused on what matters most, and navigate challenges without losing your way. That sort of summed it up for me. There's other things I want to get into later, the core values of that and life purpose of that, and my own personal viewpoint on that. But I thought that sort of summed it up pretty well. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely does. I'm a little bit like the people or the guys that you mentioned it to. I'm thinking, well, what do you mean by true north?
It's not incredible. It's not strange. But to me, it seemed so easy, like the compass. Where's north? Like north is here. And I'm terrible at directions, but I knew where north was.
Yeah, well, once you read out what you had found through research, core values and beliefs, life purpose, internal compass, I get it. And you know what? I think everybody has got that. Everybody has a true north in them, whether they realise it or not, because probably that's what they're working towards in one way or another in their life.
And not knowing.
Yeah, and not knowing. But, you meet 10 people. One guy's going this way, one woman's going another direction. Of those 10, they're all going in their own individual direction. And whatever their own individual direction is, or how, or what it encompasses, that is their true north. So everybody's got it and everybody's heading towards it.
I love the encompasses. That's a good one. But discovering your true north is often described not as a destination, but as a continual process of recalibration, which it is, which I think, for me, I'm only talking from my perspective on it, it does that. Recalibrates me. It strips away what doesn't matter to me anymore and gets me to focus on what brings me the ultimate meaning. I had a chat with my darling wife and she says to me about the meaning of life. And it hit me. I'm thinking, well, the meaning of life, give meaning to life. So a little bit of an epiphany as such, but there's, as you know, Mully, there's so much more to it. I mean, we could talk about, I could talk about this for the next couple of hours. Recalibration strips away what does not matter to focus on what brings you the ultimate meaning.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm also thinking too that the recalibration could be that your true north shifts. Maybe you think, I'm going to be a jockey. I'm a little guy. I'm pretty healthy. I'm going to be a jockey. And then as you're moving towards that, you find out you don't have the attribute for it. You can't, it's not a good fit. So you think, all right, I'm going to be a fashion model for smaller clothes. I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
You know, so you change your direction. So maybe the recalibration could be that you are finding a different true north, because there are people who are lost, Lee. People who don't really know, well, not so much where their true north is, but what is it that I'm actually moving towards?
Well, it's an interesting point because you haven't answered my question. What is your true north? I'll give you mine because I thought about this and I've really dug deep. I spend a lot of time with myself. I listen to my inner voice. For me, my true north could be my children, could be my relationship, could be my business. But what my true north is my mental health. Because if my mental health isn't looked after and taken care of, nothing else matters anyway. My family will break down. My relationships will break down. My work, my businesses will be gone. Has to be, for me, my mental health. I have to work on that. So where it's recalibration, I have to do that. I can't stay in that same mindset than I had before. So my true north is my mental health, which takes me further onwards to recalibrate and to let go of the things that don't really matter. It's a hard thing. People love taking their baggage around with them. They love to drag it behind them. But in our life as we know it, we're losing anyway. So we do lose relationships. We do lose friends. We do lose a job opportunity. As we get older, we lose our good looks, we lose our hair, our eyesight, our teeth. God forbid we never lose our sense of humour, but there is a loss. It's the acceptance of loss. If I want to try and covet and hold on to things, it's going to eat me up.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in that.
There's a lot in there. I told you I've been thinking about it.
You certainly have. So your true north is mental health.
My mental health, my stability, the strength of where I stand. Obviously, my wife, my children, my friends, my acquaintances, I get around them. I love being around them. It has to be structured. I have to structure myself that way because I'm the type that could quite easily step back, maybe be semi-recluse. That's not going to do me any favours. It's not going to be pushing my life forward. It's as you said, when I said that, and you just reiterated it, that people really don't know what their true north is.
Yeah, but let's stay with you for the moment. So,
really?
Yes, you're talking about you've identified your true north. So this word recalibrating that you mentioned before. So that could be simply adjusting things, taking things on board and discarding other things as you're heading towards being in a state of good mental health, healthy mental health. That's what you're talking about there. So, yeah, well, I get it, Lee. Have you been successful in that?
I think so thus far. The core values that I have in that, the fundamental principles that dictate how I live, my integrity, my compassion. I love the creativity of it, but also which I hold on to a lot more is the freedom. So you know me, Mully. So the integrity, the compassion, the creativity and the freedom are very important, not only to me, but for others, to allow that for them. Some people can't grasp that. They're so indoctrinated to whatever their dogmas are. Check out our podcast on dogmas, which is interesting. I thought it was a good subject that we can put forward. It's a life purpose as well in your true north.
Yes.
Opens up.
Yes.
So you were telling me before, you saw a movie, which I must say is an incredible movie. And it made you think. It made you visualize a certain element in your life that you saw.
Yes.
But you put yourself in that position to do that.
Yeah, well, I would like to pick that up a little bit further down the line, but I'm very interested in talking about you because you've said this was my true north. Now, you have identified it. We've also said some people go through life not knowing that they are heading towards a true north, but you have come to a point in your life where you knew that was your true north. Now, was that recent, that realization, or was that something that happened 25, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Has it always been what you have been driving towards?
Yeah, we've spoken before about what I feel my one still voice, or the gut feeling, probably right first time. And so I've understood that. And then, growing up in a big family and seeing the outcome. So I had a lot of freedom as a child. We've spoken before, very similar to yours. And I took a different viewpoint in who they were. And then growing up on a council estate and seeing the mentality of the children there. And then it was, Uncle Fred or Auntie May. It was never the right thing to do at that time, but it was accepted. And so you went along with that. I never did. So I held that. It's authenticity of it all from an early age. And then seeing friends and what they were doing, what they're getting up to, I was gobsmacked. Like I couldn't do that at all. And so, with my authenticity, it aligned me with my true self instead of bending to their external pressures or the social expectations that they thought that I had to adhere to.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Good man.
And then later on, life goes on, you see stuff and you hear stuff and you read stuff. We did a 3-part series called The Men's Quarter on men's mental health, which I enjoyed. It just highlights that, and more so. We have the information, we have it all at our fingertips. It's what we do with it.
It is what we do with it. Now, I'm assuming that you have arrived at your true north. What are you doing with it?
And again, I have been using it unbeknown to myself. It's the realization of where, or my age, or my circumstances, or I always say the caps that I wear, from being a son to a brother to a friend to an uncle to a husband to a father to a grandfather, great-grandfather. I think it's if it fits well. And I think in this day and age now, where a lot of people really, and I agree with them, too much screen time, all this time with all the screens and the social media, a lot of people go, nah, too much. I personally don't think it's too much because I gather information. You know what I'm with misinformation, disinformation, or illusion or disillusion. So you have to shift through that. And I'm okay with that. A lot of people won't have the time or the effort or the inclination to do that. My wife thinks, oh, you're scrolling again. I'm not scrolling with who won the footy or TAB or
Porch Bandits.
Yeah, or that. So I'm getting all social relevant information that I can access, which will help me move forward.
Well, I think this is an interesting point that we've arrived at. What do you do with it once you've arrived there? Because I've actually had an experience with that recently. My true north has been trying to come to an understanding that I could creditably hang on to and have assurance myself that this is how the world works. This is how certain parts of the world, politics, finances, the meaning of life, religion, how these things work. Now, I've come to that point of satisfaction in myself where I think, okay, now I understand how these things work to the point that I feel that I've got a good grip on it. Now, I'm not saying I've come into places of mastery over all of those different areas of life, far from it, but I've come to a point where I'm satisfied that I have some understanding of how it all fits together, how the world works and operates. And just recently, I was in a conversation about geopolitical thing that's happening around the world. And I didn't initiate the conversation. The other person did. And they asked my opinion of a certain particular major world leader who I described as a treacherous rat. And this other person blew up and said, you can't say that.
Well, just did.
Yeah, as the conversation went on, this person got more and more irate and turned to me and said, you've really got to change. You have got to stop saying all these things and laying all what you think is right on other people. And I just go, well, I didn't start this. And then I thought, hang on, what you've just said to me was what you were accusing me of. You're telling me I should do this, and you're telling me I have to correct. And you're telling me in a way as if you are right and that I am wrong. And that's what you're accusing me of. Now, the other thing is, as that conversation went along, I tested that person. I said, well, okay, you have an opposing view to this. Do you know about this foundational thing? Do you know about the role this person played in it? Do you know some of the past history? I don't need to know that. And that person had an opinion, whereas I was speaking out of a conviction. My life purpose had to come to a place where I had an assurance of those things. Now, I could be wrong. What I have a conviction of, I could be wrong. I could be on the wrong side of history and looking at this geopolitical conflict. But for the moment, I don't believe I am, and I have no reason to change. And I'm certainly not going to change because somebody who has initiated the conversation said to me that I have to change and not have strong opinions. Well, it's all right for that person to have it and tell me. So my true north, I was hanging on to. I was not going to be badgered or pushed away from it because I'd spent decades trying to get into a position where I was happy with a lot of these things. So I'm certainly not going to change because somebody else thinks that I'm wrong. Now, if I come to a spot where I believe that I am wrong, I will change. But I'm not going to because somebody else doesn't like where I've arrived at. So sometimes, Lee, when you get to your true north, you have to hang on to it and protect it because you've worked bloody hard to get there. You've been through a lot to get there. You just told me your story about your past and how you grew up in a social environment that wasn't pleasing to you, how you wouldn't agree with it, how you had to fight your way out of it, how you had to get yourself into a position where you are at peace and happy with what life has delivered for you or what you have created out of life through your own efforts and strivings. So you're going to have to hang on to that. If you meet somebody else from the past who hasn't come out like you have and starts to attack you because you've had some sort of material or financial success, you've got every reason not just to ignore them, but quietly to tell them to go and get stuffed.
Yeah. Freedom in that.
Yeah, but there's no right for them to lay it on you.
So I think my true north it's an internal compass in my life, and it guides me through it, whether my life is successful or not. It represents who I am.
Yes.
As a human being.
All of the above.
At my deepest level of myself. It grounds me, and it acts as a fixed point to a crazy, spinning, out of control world. That one still voice.
Yes.
Which I've had ever since I can remember. So, yeah, it's an interesting fact that the true north has played such a massive part in not only my life, but in other people's life.
You know, I'm thinking sometimes when we talk about what is your true north, it could be finding your true north could be the quest that a lost soul has.
Yeah, true.
And I think that fits very neatly, but it's also kind of a little bit of a stereotype because, as we've said before, I think everybody at some point is working towards their true north. You know, a couple of friends who I'd grown up with, all they wanted to do was achieve financially.
Yes, yeah.
And they did. Now, both of those friends were very singular in their vision and their striving throughout their life to get to that point. Now, I wouldn't call them lost souls at all because they knew what they wanted and they went for it and they worked hard and they invested and they took chances and they pulled it off. They're both being financially successful. So I would never call them lost souls, but you can easily think that true north has to apply to lost souls, but it applies to everybody.
Everything. Yeah,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody.
And every situation, even spiritually. Like I've got a few points here. So it says here, true north represents your internal moral compass at your deepest, most authentic core value. It's the unwavering guiding center within you that connects your personal beliefs to a higher purpose and institution, helping you stay grounded and make decisions that align with your true self.
Yes.
So spiritual. It's the same sort of thing, just worded differently. It's the space where you live in total integrity. It's not as if it's a new thing. Oh, look what's out. True north. Got to have that. Got to buy that. Got to acquire that. It's always there. It's always been there. But describing your true north is often described not as a destination, but as a continuous purpose of recalibration, which I love. I love that line because it speaks to me above all else. I've got a heap of other stuff I could go into, but it doesn't apply to what we're really saying. You can get something and you can make too much out of it where then it just becomes a noise, doesn't function for you anymore. But the mental health, I deal with that every day. I'm sure you do in some circumstances, and I'm sure a lot of people do, whether that be anger or anxiety, whether it be love, whether it be annoyance, whether, oh God, I've got to face the traffic this morning.
My interest in this is when you arrive, your true north. You know, I see fulfillment. I see a coming into who you are and the great liberty and freedom that brings with it. But I also am thinking, what happens if you get to what you thought was your true north and when you get there, you're not happy?
Well, it wasn't your true north.
Yeah, but as I said, what you thought was.
Yeah.
What do you do then? Those two friends of mine who sought financial gain, big financial gain, what happens if they suddenly get there at the age of, say, 65 and they say, oh, I'm not going to work anymore? They've got very good health and they have to keep living for the next 20, 30 years and they're not happy, which some of them aren't. I'm not saying these two guys aren't, but other people I know of who are similar are not. What do they do then? They've arrived at what they thought was their true north. Do they then have to turn around and start another voyage of self-discovery?
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. The day you wake up, like for me, it's a new day. It'll bring us new challenges. Like what we're living today has never been lived before in the whole of the universe, in history, in time. So we are creating history. We were talking before we got on air, and I was saying to you about leaving my digital footprint or my carbon footprint, or leaving, like what we're doing here, a catalogue of all our talks together. Maybe one day, I hope that my children and grandchildren, or great-grandchildren even, can listen to who their father, grandfather, great-grandfather was, of how I feel. This is why, in a way, because we also run the Noosa Pirates podcast, and I've seen so many people come in and break down. They had no idea that was going to happen that day, but they relaxed and they saw it and they became time themselves. I find it a great privilege to listen to that. And then I can't help but feel life sometimes is such an incredible thing. It can be the most beautiful song you could hear, or it could be the devil whispering in your ear going, what are you doing?
Or it can be a total bitch.
Or that too.
No, because there's a guy who pops up on my Instagram feed and he talks about his background and he says, life is hard, then you die. Well, this guy lives in North America and anyway, he's having a go at all the soft Americans. Your life is hard and then you die. Toughen up. Don't be debil.
Yeah.
Debil means don't be a dumb, stupid asshole. Don't be debil. Anyway, but life's a bitch. One of the things that comes into my mind often is you and I are sitting here talking about life. We're talking about it in a way we're seeking to have some sort of understanding. You and I are wanting to discuss these big questions. We love doing it. And we have a quality of life where we can give attention to all of these things. And we can sit in this fantastic studio in front of this microphone, our microphones, and we discuss and we dig and we throw around our understandings and insights. And I'm thinking, what about somebody who's a Palestinian who lives under Israeli bombs that are coming down every day? What if you live in Sudan and you have to live in a hut made out of sticks because you've been displaced because of the civil war? These people have a great, massive struggle just to get through the day. They can't even think about what their true north is.
Or whether they're going to get fed for that day.
Yeah, that's their number one thing. How are we going to get through the day on the basics?
Whether they're going to get through that day.
You're in Gaza, your house has been bombed. You're going to live in a tent. Then the winter comes and the rain comes and you've got to survive.
And nobody gives a crap.
Nobody gives a fat flying fig. So how can these people sit down and talk about these things? So I often think that you and I are quite privileged to be able to do this. But I am also sure, in having said all of that, if they did have the opportunity to do what we do, they would be discussing the same thing. Because I think finding your true north is universal to everybody. Whether you Chinese, Mongolian, Palestinian, Sudanese, it doesn't matter. Any particular grouping, ethnicity, we are all human beings. And if everybody had the opportunity to live like we do in our wonderful Australia, in this wonderful town, wonderful climate, and come into this wonderful studio, we would have the same discussion. In fact, some people that I've met from countries that we as Australians might think are not as, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word advanced, but as privileged as what we are. Some of these people have got far greater insights into life and the human psyche than what I'll ever have. Some of them are brilliant to talk to. I've run into that, and there's some terrific minds, and they look at it from a different perspective from what we do. Might be the same topic, but wouldn't it be great to be sitting here with somebody who came from Palestine, for example, who was educated and didn't have to have that daily survival, but also had the opportunity to explore the questions that we and the topics that we do, and to hear that person's perspective.
Well, I did mention to you before that we had listeners from Palestine, which took me aback. I don't know why, but it just did. And with other people coming in to our studio here, and they have that time to listen to themselves, it's really doing this studio justice because it gives them a platform to talk from. I'm going to end, my bit anyway, on this last bit of what is True North from another person's perspective. And it says here, why is True North important? So he or she has put some stuff down. I wonder what you think of this. Well, I'll quickly go through them. Give me little thoughts on it. So number one is stay focused on what matters most to you.
Correct.
Make choices that are consistent with your goals and beliefs. Overcome challenges and setbacks with resilience and optimism.
Very important, particularly the resilient.
That was the one that stood out to me, and the optimism. Finding meaning and fulfillment in your work and personal life. And finally, inspire and influence others with your vision and values, which we were just talking about. And that's what I and you have been trying to do with our podcast, with our studio. At first, it was we like to have a chat, but it became more in depth, became more rounded, more fulfilling. And here we are.
Here we are, nearly 200 episodes down the line.
Mate, I think DGMS is 107 now.
107, and we're 50-odd for Surftown and about
52 Surftown.
And about 50 other episodes for various other topics.
Yeah, well, Lethal and Mully Live, I think there's 10. I think Noosa Now, there's the same.
Keith and Lee's great Noosa Coffee
Odyssey, we've only released 6, but we've got 40 odd in the tank.
Move over, Sydney Nolan. You should hear about our Odyssey. Oh, my God. What a ripper. Oh, speaking of changing topics and ending, I'd like to end on a light note. I had a good joke I wanted to roll out to you at the beginning, right? So now that we've wrapped our topic
I've got a couple for you.
All right, I'll go first.
You go first.
Where do women have the curliest hair?
Molly?
Fiji. Oh, come on. I know what you're thinking.
I like that one. Only because I know you.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking New Guinea, weren't you?
Was. How did you know? Okay, so this is a knight one. What's the name of the knight that doesn't like to fight?
I give up.
Surrender. One more?
Yeah, one more.
Now, this has been told by my grandchildren. What's the name of the knight, you probably might get this now, that always turns up unexpectedly?
No, got me.
Surprise!
Oh, sir. Again, I was trying to think of the ending.
Yeah.
Something that may have rhymed with night.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, surrender.
Surprise.
And surprise. There you go. I don't normally tell the jokes, but I love your one this week, Molly. So as we come to the end, which I am always sad about, I'm so glad that we've done another episode of Don't Get Me Started with Keith and Lee. As always, Molly, I'll leave you the last word.
Well, it's great to be back with you, my good man, in the studio and discussing life as we want to do. We love it. We love the fact that there are people listening right around the world, and God bless you all, and all be safe and happy. So until next time, like, share, and all the rest, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Don't Get Me Started with Keith and Lee. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Don't Get Me Started, jump onto our socials, follow us on Instagram at Lethal and Mully, Facebook and LinkedIn. If you would like to be a part of the show, email us on don'tgetmestarted2024@gmail.com. Until next time.